Tonight, fuel to keep the nation's power plants running set to run out in 48 hours, with Karpower issuing a 3-day ultimatum to shut down its plants following a $400 million debt owed by government.
Karpower has just sent us a letter that by 18th they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious.
We have details as government scrambles to avert a looming power crisis. We'll engage the energy minister himself, who says funds are not readily available to purchase more fuel that has been ordered.
We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel.
We have details of that coming up here on Top Story. Top Story is, as always, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina. Sarfo, please stay for details. Tonight, the Energy Minister, John Jinapor, early this month said the country's fuel stock to run the power plants will last only 2 weeks, with Karpower debt pegged at $371 million. Today, the sector minister has revealed the country currently has less than 48 hours of liquid fuel in stock, with monies owed Karpower shooting to a whopping $400 million. While speaking to MPs on the Energy Committee, John Jinapor said while some more fuel has been ordered, funds are not readily available to pay for it.
Frank with you, Chairman. Today, as I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Ministry of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Ministry of Finance also has its limits. And so we'll be going to Cabinet to discuss how we can improve on the sector. And that is why we are pushing for some private sector participation in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted a position, and we'll brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, is the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the educational institutions, dormitories are not part, restaurants are not part, only lecture theaters. And so we've classified that, and Cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay.
Well, he added that he has been having sleepless nights because of the debt owed the energy sector players.
This year alone, government spent over 24 billion cedis in energy sector, either you call it subsidies, under recoveries, or shortfalls. This year, it is estimated at over 30 billion in terms of the shortfall. Yesterday, we had a session with the finance minister, and a lot of the people here were there. We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, and the PRC is here, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel, and that has to be paid by the central government because it's not part of the tariff structure. As if that is not enough, what you call the reserve margin, which is a necessity, because you just don't bring plants to meet exactly what you consume. What if one plant goes off for maintenance or any situation. That is not also part of the tariff structure. More importantly, the tariff itself, ECG is unable to collect all the monies. And so you're having a deficit of about 2 billion cedis every month when it comes to ECG's collections. When you add that deficit and you add the fuel, which is not part of the pass-through, you are looking at over 30 billion. Karpower has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious.
Well, the ranking member on the Energy Committee, George Kwame Abuaji, has been making an attempt to diagnose the challenges bedeviling the energy sector. Let's listen to him.
Most of our companies in this country, a lot of them, they don't pay electricity bills. A lot don't pay. And transmission losses also is another factor, which the minister has to look at it. We are currently at around 29 to 30% transmission losses, whereby the OECD or the international sectors, their transmission losses is around 8 to 9%. So if we are able to overcome these transition losses, also is part of money. Because at generation, when you generate power, okay, immediately you generate, the generator charges what he has generated. So whether you use it or not, whether it goes to the consumer or not, definitely they are going to charge us. So this is some of the areas I would like the minister to look at it. Because transmission losses is killing us. I always said our tariff is, when you compare to the West African sector tariff, I think we are almost at par with them. But if we are at par with them and still having all these challenges, what do you have to say? So these two critical sectors, three critical areas, like the transmission losses and people who are not paying, big industries. Because very few are paying electricity bills in this country. So, Mr. Minister, you have our support. We will not antagonize what you want to do for the country. We all want the best. You've been a ranking member before, and we'll collaborate with the chairman and the rest of the committee to do what is right for this country.
Well, thankfully, I have the Energy Minister himself, John Jinapo, join me here on Top Story. I appreciate your time. I also have Ishmael Ejikumhini, he's Executive Director for Kumasi Institute of Technology, Energy and Environment. I also have with me Kojo Poku, he's an energy expert. I appreciate your time here on Top Story. I'll start with you, Mr. Jinapo, because we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. You say that we have 48 hours to fix the problem, but we don't have the money. I'm sure you've been engaging the sector players. How do you plan to raise money to procure the much needed fuel?
Well, let me thank you. I've been quite busy with the sub-committee meeting. I just came out. Parliament, as part of their oversight duties, summoned the Ministry of Energy and its agencies. And the main topic was the challenges and the solutions. So on the issue of fuel, we did indicate to them that we had 2.6 days of liquid fuel, specifically light crude oil. But I did also say that Ministry of Finance has helped us, and through their intervention, we've procured 450,000 barrels of light crude oil. And this weekend, we expect that, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we'll take delivery of the 450,000 barrels. And that can stretch us for quite a while. So yes, whilst you have 2.6 days of limited stock, the positive side is that through the help of the Ministry of Finance, we are securing this fuel. The challenge as it stands is that it's not part of the tariff structure. And so when you need liquid fuel, you will usually have to fall on the Finance Minister. And he's been very, very good towards us since January to date. And so let me thank you and to appeal to you to continue to support us. So that is the situation on the fuel side. The issue of Karpower, like I said, they had indicated that their legacy bill if nothing was done, they couldn't run beyond 18.
They've given you a 3-day ultimatum. Do we have the money?
Yes. We've had a very positive meeting with them. We've agreed on a roadmap. That ultimatum has been withdrawn. And I did indicate to the committee that we've made some progress on that. And so on that score too, we are on an even keel. The most important thing is how to deal with the rest of the areas going forward.
And I'm quite interested in that, and how you plan to deal with the arrears. $400 million debt. What's the payment plan, really?
We've agreed on some interim arrangements. We'll be meeting again tomorrow to fine-tune it. And the essence of our being in office is to resolve the challenges. And so you can rest assured that we would use whatever avenue and whatever negotiation. We also want to negotiate with them to see if they can give us some reprieve in terms of the cost structure itself. And because Karpower, they've indicated that they are willing to engage. They've withdrawn the letter. They are willing for us to negotiate further. And through negotiation, we would find all the solutions. But I'm happy to announce that that ultimatum has been withdrawn, and that's a positive signal.
But a bigger problem now is the debt, the mounting debt that ECG continues to owe. How do you plan to fix that? Because that's a bigger problem you pointed out today.
That is true. The debt as of December 2024 was over $3 billion. If you add all the sector debt, that was about 80 billion cedi. The positive side, once again, is because of the currency appreciation, the debt has really come down significantly. Because if your currency moves from 16 to around 12, you make a lot of savings. Number two, the minister himself has made some budgetary allocation to help pay off some of the gas. We've also integrated the ECG private sector committee so that we can involve the private sector with ECG's billing and collection to increase the revenue base. Today around 2 o'clock, ECG came and made a presentation, a technical one and a commercial one. On the technical one, how to ensure that we keep the lights on when it rains or when it doesn't rain, so that the lights can stay on. The other solution is that Cabinet has approved that apart from critical institutions, such as critical areas in the hospitals, in the educational sector, in the critical security areas, all other MMDs should budget and pay for the electricity bill. That's also a huge amount that can come and help us. And then, finally, to reduce wastage, that is improve operational efficiency and deal with these challenges, whilst we talk about how we can factor the fuel. We're supposed to spend about $1 billion on liquid fuel. We've commissioned a team to see to the construction of a second gas processing plant. If we increase our gas consumption, that immediately reduces our liquid cost by about 50%.
But do we have the $1 billion? Do we have it?
We are working to increase our gas. So I'll be visiting Nigeria this week. We want to nominate more gas from Nigeria. Instead of spending about 48 million on light crude oil a month, if you get gas, we'll be spending just about 20 million. And so we're working with our counterparts in Nigeria. Hello has also indicated that they can increase some gas by 30 mm/scarf. By the end of this month, we are looking at that. In July, EMI has also indicated that they can increase by another 30 mm/scarf. We are working on that. And so there's light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to keep focused and keep working very hard towards that.
But help this make sense to me, really, and all our listeners out there. We operate the prepaid system where you would mostly have to pay for the power before you receive lights in your homes. So why then is it so difficult for government-owned agencies to pay their debt?
That's why we have to put them on prepayment meters. If they're on prepayment meters, they have to budget. In fact, the issue of Ghana Water came. And Ghana Water indicated that they needed regular supply of power. And I said it's true. But I also think that Ghana Water should pay for their bill. For 7 months, they haven't paid for their bill. If they pay, we'll get some more money. We can procure more fuel. We can invest, which also means that Ghana Water will have to go after consumers. And when they come after you, you should understand that they need their money to pay us. But we're making some progress. We just have to keep at it and keep pushing very hard.
But are you assuring me that my lights will be on?
Today, the briefing I get, I'm very happy your lights will be on.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Ishmael Ejikuhuni. He is Executive Director for Kumasi Institute of Technology, Energy and Environment, as well as Kojopoku. I just want to get your thoughts as energy experts in this field. We've been hearing from the minister paint a grim picture about the state of the energy sector. Your initial thoughts on how we can fix this challenge permanently? I'll start with you, Ishmael.
Good evening to your listeners. Well, the picture has always been quite grim. It's been suspended for a while. I'm not surprised at the development, but the truth of the matter is that we need to solve the problems and keep the lights on. So that would be my final comment.
And then, from your analysis, really, when it comes to debt collection, is privatization the way to go?
Well, there are different forms of privatization. It depends on what we finally settle on and what kind of benchmark that we put in place. Because we've never had private sector participation in the power sector before, so we need to get it right. But clearly, somebody needs to be more accountable when it comes to buying and selling of power. If you buy and sell, you should be able to account for what you bought and what you are selling. There are other interventions apart from private sector participation, including making sure that we are even able to track exactly who gets what and how much power went into which area. But definitely we need to improve upon efficiency, and if private sector will help us do that, we should be looking at that. But we need to make sure that we don't give any preferential treatment to any private sector. Most of the conditions under which ECG is operating, if the conditions are the same and they are doing better, then we give them bonuses and things like that. But the situation as it is ought to be improved.
And many are wondering how we got to this point, really, where we're counting the number of hours we might have lights in our home. Karpower, they issued an ultimatum. We just heard from the minister that they've been able to reach some sort of negotiation where the $400 million will be spread across. But then how do you propose we deal with this financial mismanagement challenges when it comes to our energy sector?
Okay, so the indebtedness has been with us for a while. We need to ask ourselves why and how we got here. Part of the debt is as a result of power that we've contracted that we are not using them, but we are paying for them. So excess capacity has always been part of the problem. If you disaggregate the debt that we owe Karpower, for example, it's not every debt that is as a result of UTB failing to pay for power that has been bought. We can look at the reason that there's been ongoing negotiations with them to be able to resolve the issue. But in terms of monthly invoices, we should be able to buy power and pay so that we don't add up to the legacy system. But we need to grow and make sure that if we are buying 50 million worth of power today, at the end of the month, we should be able to recover that money and pay it back to them. Whilst, thankfully, we've agreed to renegotiate, we can negotiate with them to see how we'll be able to pay the existing debt. But it's not just Karpower. It's all the IPPs who we owe, and we should be prepared to sit down with them and negotiate. But we don't need to add to the cost. We don't need to add to the indebtedness. Otherwise, it will be a vicious cycle that we'll never be able to resolve.
Thank you, Ishmael. Let me bring in John Jinapo at this point and just get his updates on some of the key concerns you have raised. When it comes to excess power that we produce as a nation, and we still have to pay the IPPs for the production, how do we plan to deal with this so that we lessen the burden on us?
Well, currently as we speak, we don't have much excess power. In fact, today, the demand and the supply is neck and neck. So the excess capacity that used to exist is being wiped out. And the experts even tell me that if we don't bring more plants, we may run into a serious deficit. And so the excess capacity, or what we call reserve margin, which is a necessity because you don't just bring in what you need some excess so that if a plant goes down, another plant can come in. It led to some serious, what you call legacy debt, and we are working around it. But going forward, I've just sent a paper to Cabinet that new PPAs should be through competitive process. Let's do a competitive process. If we need solar, if we need 200 megawatts, let's advertise. Then the thermal plants, we are pushing that if we can have a BOT, where the operator operates the plant for some years, repay and hand over to VRA. We'll be building VRA stock. And so we are working around that. And I'm sure that, like he said, that will improve efficiency. If you are doing a private sector participation, do it in a transparent manner, in a competitive manner, and get the best company, not for cronies. These are things that when we do, and we are working on them now, we'll begin to see some solutions. The challenge in the sector is that you normally wouldn't see the solution in a day. But if you keep at it and you keep pushing, it will begin to show.
Today, you just briefed us that when it comes to ECG and revenue collection, it's a big problem because every month there's a deficit of 2 billion cedis. The previous administration, they started some sort of rollover of our prepaid meters. They're trying to migrate all the postpaid meters to prepaid meters. I wanted to find out, what's the update on that?
It's a good move to put everybody on prepayment meter as much as possible. We are working with the World Bank to secure 800,000 smart prepayment meters. We've launched the competitive bidding process. If we get at 800, it will make a huge dent. But let me quickly say this so that ECG workers do not feel that I've betrayed them. The 2 billion is not on account of ECG alone. The liquid fuels that we buy today is not part of the tariff. And so that deficit cannot be because of ECG. The excess or reserve margin you talked about is not part of the tariff structure. So you cannot hold ECG responsible for that. Government agencies, they have to pay. They must pay. So we must encourage and support ECG to do that. A lot of staff in ECG are doing very well. We have to encourage them and try and give of their best. Where we are headed, if we can continue the way we are going and sustain it and reduce the political interference, I'm very confident that we'll turn the sector around.
Now, you've just told us that you negotiated with Karpower, but when it comes to other IPPs, we know that the debt stands at some $1.7 billion. How do we plan to clear that?
Yes, the total outstanding liability for IPPs as of December 2024, 1.7 billion. So we are trying to arrange a roadmap so that as we stay current, we can be amortizing. And also they've agreed that as we amortize, they will take a haircut. So even the 1.7 billion, if we try our best and begin to do something good, there are clauses there that reduces the debt on an incremental basis. That also gives us some savings. It's difficult, admittedly, but we must find that solution. We are working towards a solution.
Have the money, though? Do we have the money, especially when you're just giving us the dynamics when it comes to the reserve margin?
We have to find the money. We have to find a way out. That's the only way. It will be tough. It will be difficult. But we'll have to do it to save the sector.
We appreciate your time, the Energy Minister there, John Jinapor. I've also been speaking with Ishmael Ejikumhini, Executive Director for Kumasi Institute of Technology, Energy and Environment. Thankfully, I have Kojo Poku, who is an energy expert. We've just been listening to the Energy Minister table some of the plans they have to fix the debt crisis we're facing in the energy sector. You've listened to him. What do you propose?
Well, good evening. I think we've gone past the point where we are having the feedback on the issue. Look, we all know what the problems are. There was a PULC review of tariff. We were all expecting the PULC to put effect to what the finance minister talked about during his budget. If you remember, when the Minister of Finance he read his budget, he increased the weighted average cost of gas from 7.836 to 8.45. But when PLC was doing their review, politics set in, and instead of using even the 7.836, they reduced the amount by 20 cents because they knew that if they use the new prices of the weighted cost of gas set by the finance minister, we are going to have a bigger increase in electricity tariffs. When people do politics in this sector, and they will turn around and say that there is debt that we can collect, we all know there is debt, but it is having the political will to basically let the debt be collected. I have always said that if we don't pay the debt in the sector by tariff, we'll pay it by taxes. So, look, John, my brother, is the Honorable Jennifer is the minister. I think the issue of excess capacity law, he talked about it when he was in opposition. Now he's the minister. By now, we should have something in Parliament to look at how do we take care of excess capacity. The law to make sure that PRC factor that into our tariffs. The issue of 30 scarf more from Talo going to Nigeria for excess gas. I mean, the minister has done a seat for 4 months. We would have expected these things should have happened by now because he talked about them in his vetting in Parliament. So some of the things that I heard, yes, but if we keep hearing 3 days light is going to go off, 3 days light is going to go off, then the question is, what are the actions that we know that are to be taken, that are being taken? Because some of these things, we know what needs to be done. So if we don't do the needful, and we keep complaining about the sector indebtedness, it's forever going to be there. If we don't have the political will to increase tariffs when we are supposed to increase tariffs.
But on one hand, we have consumers who are already frustrated and they're tired of continuous increment without value for money.
My brother, my sister, I agree with you perfectly.
Oh dear, we seem to be losing Kojo Poku. He's an energy expert. I'm hoping I have better connection to him now. Mr. Poku, can you hear me now?
Hear me?
Oh, please.
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud and clear now. Please make your point.
Yes, what I'm saying is that we all in the 24 situation where the consumers have to be taken into consideration. Like I said, somebody needs to pay that indebtedness. Now we know that the dollar has receded. It comes to 12, and we don't know when the next will be. We are hoping that some of these savings will be used to clear some of these indebtedness. Look, we talk about our indebtedness. We've known about Karpower indebtedness. They don't want all their money today. All they want is to be engaged and a payment plan given to them. These things are known. But what I want to say, and a little advice to my brother, Honorable, is that look, we know the problem. Let's take actions to resolve the problems. We are 5 months into that situation. I mean, some of these things, if we keep talking about them and we don't take actions to resolve them, for all we know, we'll be another year down the line.
What immediate actions you prescribe that government should take?
No, basically making sure that we get close to the realistic tariffs as much as possible. As much as it might hurt the consumer, look, what would we prefer? The country in that or a country where we are paying a little bit more for electricity? It's politically unpopular, but that is what needs to be done. If you can't do that, then we should stop talking about the energy sector indebtedness and know that no political party will be able to come in and let Ghanaians pay for the indebtedness and find a way to clear it. Because if we are saying that the sector is indebted, the finance minister to Parliament to announce a new price for gas, then PLC instead of for gas instead reduces the old price. How do we expect to clear the debt?
Okay, thank you so much.
The political will is very important.
Poku, he is an energy expert. He says that we need the political will to deal with the issues in the energy sector. Well, that's it for Top Story. My name is Fostina. Sarfo. Up next is Newsnight.
Tonight, Accra Mayor's impending war on unauthorized hawking incurs wrath of pavement traders who are vowing to resist an eviction order that comes into force in 5 days.
What else are we going to do? Because this is where we get our daily bread, and this is the only space that we have that we get our daily incomes. If they ask us to leave this place, we don't have anywhere to go.
The mayor is standing firm, ready to forcibly remove the thousands of traders who have left the central business district congested.
This promise I'm making to you, I'll make sure I stand by it, and by Tuesday, when you have not moved, we'll move you.
Also tonight, why the internal jostling to succeed President John Mahama as NDC flag bearer for the 2028 elections has left the party's general secretary concerned. Fifi Kwete issues a stern warning to party stalwarts already orchestrating moves to succeed the president.
So all this orchestration and jostling, some of the people who may be thinking about it think twice. The spirit of this party doesn't like shenanigans, doesn't like orchestration, doesn't like manipulation. So relax.
So is Fifi Kwete himself nursing a presidential ambition?
What matters is whether the people in the NDC would maybe find Fifi Kwete or find another person as worthy to become a leader. When the moment comes, we leave the choice to the people.
We have analysis for you. Also tonight, Energy Ministry set to launch mass disconnection of ministries, departments and agencies owing billions in debt to ECG.
All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency.
We're also learning tonight of internal sabotage within the energy sector. We'll hear from the minister.
In business, commercial banks urge customers to remain calm, insisting they remain committed to facilitating legitimate withdrawals.
And in sports, we hear from women's football administrators who are calling on the Vice President, Professor Nana Jeno Pokuajiman, to champion the development of the game with a role in government.
You want to stay with us here on Newsnight? Join me with your thoughts. 055 11 997. Details after this.
No gari, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, bruh, that be dangerous combination, no?
Problem no day. I feel handle am.
For Telecel, we the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, you fit get your own data and call packages. Fala! Made For Me bundles like the way you the want them. That *530# then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush the clean and bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between. Brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
This
advert is FDA approved.
Say no nut, no nut, no nut, no nut. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till no not now. Malaria chill. Oh, popo. What mean the day? I want the no not. A dabako. No not. A damienu. No not. A damiensa. No not. No not. Scatter malaria. Lonat ide scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa wumujam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo hwa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Tonight, the Accra Mayor's impending war on unauthorized hawking has incurred the wrath of pavement traders who are vowing to resist an eviction order that comes into force in 5 days. The traders argue that repeated promises by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to relocate them to designated markets have not materialized. We'll hear from them pretty shortly, and my colleague has spent some time with them at the Accra Central Business District and will join me pretty shortly. But first, listen to the Accra Mayor Maxwell Alote, addressing a news conference today.
Today, I'm making the promise out there to each and every one of us to know that the streets are not for selling. The streets are a place where cars and it's not a place that we have to engage petty tradings on the pavements. Now they have taken almost half of the streets. But if I wait till something happens, they will come attack the mayor of the city. So as the mayor of the city, I cannot watch this to happen. So on Tuesday, we are starting from Okanshi, we'll move straight to Circle and Kanishi. So please, we are not after anybody. We are not coming because we have the power to move you from the street. No, we want to keep the city clean. One thing I want to say is that when you want to clear the streets, sometimes it may seem that you don't have feeling for the people on the streets. But that is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that we have engaged the market women, we have engaged the GPLTU, we have engaged the police. So we beg you, on Tuesday, we are coming to clear the streets. So please move before we get there. And this promise I'm making to you, I'll make sure I stand by it. And by Tuesday, when you have not moved, we'll move you.
Well, Kenneth joins me in the studio. He spent some time today at the Accra Central Business District. The mayor paints a gloomy picture as far as the congestion of the Central Business District and the entire, areas under his jurisdiction is concerned. Paints a very gloomy picture of that. What did you observe yourself? How bad is it?
Well, the mayor did not exaggerate in his description that almost half of the road has been taken over by pavement traders, and that is indeed the case. Accra is choked. It's not choked with only humans, but with people's goods and wares as well. When I went around the central business district of Accra, you could see that the road is almost equally divided into two. Half of them is being taken over by vehicles and humans. The other half is being taken over by pavement traders. They're selling from perishable goods to non-perishable goods. And it's very difficult for human navigation through that place. And if you do not take care, you're going to step on an item that is being sold there. And ironically, just around the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, that place is also very choked. You see people selling just across the street, causing human traffic and vehicular traffic as well. So it is a very dire situation right from where the mayor made the declaration, that's the AMA Hall, all the way around the surrounding neighborhood. So it has a lot of people trading in unauthorized areas when I went there.
Do they accept they must move?
They do not. They do not, because they're making cases that they've been promised that they will not be moved, and also they're saying that they have not been provided alternative places to be moved to if they move, although the mayor did indicate that that has been done. They say that if they want to move them, they have to tell them exactly where they're taking them. And they say they pay taxes every day, so they see no reason why they'll be told to vacate places that has been recognized and they pay taxes on every day.
What else are we going to do? Because this is where we get our daily bread, and this is the only space that we have that we get our daily incomes. If they ask us to leave this place, we don't have anywhere to go. That might make us do what is not right that we're supposed to do. So what my own suggestion is that they should have allowed us to do our petty trading or our business by the roadside like that. Okay, we'll look into it.
Yeah, me for some help on here, brother. So I'm so help on brother that someone can correct. Cause mobile campaign say abaye kwa de bi meda. Say kwa ni bia basa abaye na ni wo bi. Ghana ha adwuma ni ha. eti ye nyina ye ko school anka ye de pe na ye wie ya yetimu eti say ye me fo so mba be pam ye benada de a na ayensem hunu na omo pa di
oh ebnada de me ba ha so mama me place me nko dia na my sister no man akọ ne akọ ye market o so mama me place there na ye ni ba wi akọ sisi ekọ fie sa ya ti ase o metimi atu ye ba mama ye place be ye comfortable no ani hia
ye tena nye ba school fees be me bia ntu ya school fees ma ye wonu akra ho ma ho hwe ye ne hwe fie oni de enye brage so o meti because ye tena ha ne ye tua lances last year tua lances 1.5.
Right, so those were some of the traders who have been sharing with me what they think, and then they are vowing to resist any attempt to evict them on the 20th of May, which is in 5 days' time. They say that they have nowhere to go, and as I mentioned earlier, they've indicated that they've been paying taxes all the time. They say that that is a place that is their place of survival. That's where they get their daily bread. So if they're told to move away from the place, it's got to be nearly impossible. So, I mean, they will face off with the mayor when the time comes on Tuesday.
Kenneth, thank you very much. I want to bring in the spokesperson for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Gilbert Ankra. And as you know, each time the Assembly decides to decongest the city, it's a big deal because of the sheer numbers when it comes to traders who operate on the pavements and sometimes on the streets. He joins us on the line right now. Gilbert, we just listened to the traders. The question they ask you is, what is your alternative? Have you provided an alternative place for them to sell now that you plan to remove them on Tuesday?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me state that the mayor embarked on his engagement, series of stakeholder engagement on Tuesday. And if you listen to the market leaders, the transport operators and all that, it's quite clear that these persons operating within the street and on pavement, they have shares within the various markets. And for that matter, a lot of them use these sheds for warehouse purposes and all that. And trading on the streets is a safety issue. And for that matter, we as an assembly cannot sit down to allow any eventuality to happen.
That is not in doubt. That is not in doubt.
Ensure that there is.
That is not in doubt that it's a safety issue. But they ask a fundamental question. You know it's a safety issue, but the traders say they still pay taxes to you, and you have watched on for this to happen and fester. So if you plan to remove them, then you have to account for the taxes they paid to you and provide them an alternative.
Let me state that traders who operate within these various areas do not pay taxes to the assembly. What they do pay are market tolls, and they don't constitute taxes. And for the matter that they pay some of these
the market tolls, Gilbert, who collects the market tolls?
Areas.
Gilbert, can you hear me, Gilbert?
Give them that
Gilbert,
legal right
hear me?
to be.
Gilbert, if you can hear me, who collects the market tolls?
Can you please come again?
Who collects the market tolls?
Yes, the assembly collects the market tolls.
So you collect the market tolls.
Yes.
And what do you use the market tolls for?
Yeah, the market tolls are used for developmental purposes. They are also used to ensure that issues of sanitation are dealt with within the entire city.
So
These traders operating within these various areas to generate a lot of waste, and some of these things are used to deal with the waste. But let me add that for the mere fact that they are paying these tolls does not legitimize their stay, especially selling on the street.
But how can you say that they selling on the street is a health risk, a safety problem, and yet you collect tolls from them? That is legitimizing the illegality.
No, it is not legitimizing their activities.
Somebody, you say the traders,
that where they are trading is not authorized. A lot of these traders came in to do their trading because of the Christmas festivities, and they are aware that immediately after the Christmas festivities are over, they are expected to move. They are even calling, and just as I said, the market leaders themselves are calling for this very decongestion exercise.
Yeah, I mean, Gilbert, you just said they know it is unauthorized, and the only agency that authorizes that is the Assembly. So it is not authorized, and yet you collect tolls from them.
The tolls being collected from them is for embarking on their various economic activities within the city, and it is enshrined in the Assembly's bylaws. That does not legitimize their stay or to be selling on the street. Let us be clear on that.
Stay with me. I want to bring in Alexander Kwesi-Akwa. He's the deputy ranking member on the Local Government and Rural Development Committee. Alexander, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. What do you make of this action the AMA is just announcing, considering that the AMA is just admitting that they indeed collect tolls from these same traders who they say they are operating illegally?
Well, Evans, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me. I think that this is a confused situation because here we are, the market women are threatening to be recalcitrant because they know they have been paying tolls to the Assembly. Now, if the spokesperson is telling us that the tolls that are paid do not go to the Assembly, then who collects the tolls? Decongestion is a subject that every mayor in Accra faces. But you have to do it with a human face. Thank God, when I heard the mayor talking, he did not threaten to bring whips like it happened in Kumasi. He may want to do this with a human face, but whatever it is, the alternate, premises for this market women to sell is important. We cannot just throw them out of business. Like one woman said, Abaye is a thing of the past. We haven't heard about Abaye for a very long time because mayors after mayors have had a way of organizing this decongestion without necessarily throwing them out of their business. But I only thought that this was going to be the right opportunity for the mayor to start implementing the 24-hour economy. I mean, street markets, night street markets happen in a lot of places, a lot of developed countries. And so if you think that Accra is congested and you want to embark on decongestion, well, I would have thought that at least you create some enabling environment. Let's put some structures together to have the women to come in the night and do street selling or something. Those who really want to patronize their products will now take advantage of lack of the traffic and the night and patronize. But to say you want to chase them out of it, the mayor has a lot of consequences to face.
Thank you very much. Alexander Kwesi-Akwa is a deputy ranking member on the Local Government and Rural Development Committee. Gilbert Niankra speaks for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. They insist Tuesday they will decongest the Central Business District, the areas under the AMA's jurisdiction. I want to hear from you. This is a big deal for the residents of the Greater Accra region, and your thoughts on the approach by the AMA. 05511119997. Now, President John Mahama has 1,333 days before his last and final term expires on January 7, 2029. But already, Joy News is learning of active jostling within the governing NDC to succeed him. The party will, for the first time since 2012, have a completely new face on the ballot for the 2028 elections. Several party stalwarts have thrown their hats into the ring to become the NDC flag bearer for election 2028. This has left the General Secretary of the party, Fifi Kwete, who tonight described the internal jostling as orchestrations, concerned. He warns that party delegates will punish anyone already making active move to succeed John Mahama instead of focusing on helping the government succeed. Listen.
We appreciate that even His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, if he had stood as an independent candidate, he would not have been able to win. And you know the history of independent candidates in our country. Alan Shomate thought he was capable of doing a lot until he saw that going independent candidate, you will be struggling for 1% and 0.2.5% because you need a vehicle. So even he, as our leader, our presidential candidate and now the president appreciate that it is the vehicle the NDC. That was the means for which that success has come. So what is important to ensure that this vehicle does well, and the way this vehicle does well is for him to do well. It's for the people who are working in government to appreciate that it is a collective job that needs to be done. It's for the party to ensure that we are true to the things we promise to the people of Ghana. And as long as this vehicle is strong, when the moment comes for us to be able to put a new driver on the vehicle, we will be able to sell that new driver on the back of the collective success that this vehicle has achieved. And that is what matters more. So that's why there's actually the need for a complete dedication and focus on ensuring that NDC does well. NDC lives up to the expectation of the people of Ghana.
Has a turn of jostling started already?
Oh, but it's normal. It's a human thing. Almost every politician has an aspiration.
Do you have an aspiration?
Let me just say it this way. I believe when the moment comes and the people of the NDC feel that A or B or C is the one to go, that person will be given an opportunity. So for now, it should be a focus on ensuring that the party and the government succeeds. And at the end of the day, I've always had total faith in our delegates. And when that moment comes, our delegates are able to make the choice they make. And I can tell you also another thing about this party. It's a party whose spirit doesn't like shenanigans. It's a party whose spirit doesn't like too much orchestration. If you watch the people who have emerged and led this party, they've always been people who emerge on the back of who they are. Jerry Rawlings, natural leader. Prof. Mills, absolutely not somebody like he said, I wasn't desperate to become a president. John Mahama, in 2000, people don't know, in 2000 we were literally begging him. He didn't want to even take the position of running mate. So those are individuals. So all this orchestration and jostling, some of the people who may be thinking about it think twice. The spirit of this party doesn't like shenanigans, doesn't like orchestration, doesn't like manipulation. So relax. When the moment comes and the people decide that this is you, you will emerge. If it's not you, you will not emerge.
But I need to ask you more directly. You're talking about the future of the party. Is Fifi Kwete interested in taking that?
We keep going back to that.
Because
what matters is not whether Fifi Kwete has an aspiration or not. What matters is whether the people in the NDC would maybe find Fifi Kwete or find another person as worthy to become a leader. When the moment comes, we leave the choice to the people.
But if the people come to you, like you said, JM did, you may want to say, I'm not interested. But you have to be interested if they come to you.
I would just say that when the moment comes, we'll let the people of the NDC make that choice at the right time.
It's instructed that you haven't said no.
Yeah, because there's no need to say no.
So
it is normal on the part of any politician to want to go to the next level. But what matters is not what you want, it is what the people want. And that must always be number one.
Musa Dankwa heads the Global Info Analytics. Dr. Richard Amakoba is a political scientist. They both join me on the line right now. Musa Dankwa, you this year, you ran a poll on the same subject. Who are the front runners within the NDC?
All right. Thank you very much for having me, everybody. The front runners, I'll call them the top five, is Professor Jenano Fukuajiman leading the pack with 25%. Haruna Idrisu on 20.7%. Atu Forsen on 12.9%. Kujetu Ablakwa Samuel, 9.9%. Johnson Itia, 9.6%. And if you want to go back, you can bring the natural Admiral Rollins on 6.3%.
You just heard the General Secretary of the NDC. I asked him directly if he's interested. He wouldn't say no. He wouldn't say yes. He says he leaves it open. What do you read into that?
I mean, as a politician, you can never close the door on yourself. And it gives me a hint that next time I'm going to the public, I should in fact throw his name in the mix to see what the public think about it. I would be shocked if he ruled himself out. A young politician, he has aspiration, and every politician aspires to be a president, including people.
Let me bring in Dr. Richard Makuba. Dr. Makuba, the General Secretary has a concern. He calls it orchestrations within the party, and he warns them that the delegates will punish them. He draws on the party's history. He says those who emerge as flag bearers are those who themselves did not want it. It was almost forced on them. Do you share his views there? Do you have any sympathies for him? You understand where he's coming from?
Yes, indeed. Because it's too early for anybody, especially people in NDC, to be clamoring to become president when he just won the election 5 months ago. Now, what is going on here? Is this just an electioneering machinery to win and win and win and do what? Because you are going to win if your present leader does very well. If President Mahama does very well, it's the victory hands down. So why are you pushing so quickly to get him out or take the shine out of him? Makes no sense.
I mean, but that's what politicians do. I mean, there is an opportunity in the next less than 3 years for the party to put somebody up to represent them and bear their flag for 2028. You should expect that shortly after the swearing in, the jostling will start, and he confirms that it has started.
Well, I know that. But this is why we have party leaders. And they are the ones who are supposed to caution those who want to be leaders. If you leave them alone, they will start on day one. But that is not right. The party is going to be successful based on what the present president does. And if you are going to do political talk, positioning, shenanigans in all of this, then the division will get high. Where is the party now? It is not a good thing. They need to plan this properly. They have quite a bit of time, not to start right away as soon as you won, you started. No. Because we know what happened to the last party. They didn't do well. People are expecting you to come and fix things, and instead of fixing it, you are running for president.
And that is his central point in that interview, that everybody who is interested, and may include himself, focus on helping the party succeed in government, because even if you win the nod, you would run on the legacy of both John Mahama and the party. And Musa Dankwa, he draws on the history of the party and warns anybody, he says, the orchestrations and shenanigans, those who are orchestrating that. And he says that the party's history suggests that the delegates will punish anyone who is now very actively trying to jostle to succeed John Dramani Mahama. Is he right in drawing the party's history the way he did?
Well, I think so. If you look at the history of ND, people who have led it have emerged naturally. From Adaples, as you mentioned, to John Mahama. And indeed, the person to lead NDC in 2028 will emerge naturally.
You mentioned two examples there, but isn't the party entering a new era completely? I mean, this is the first time we are having a president who lost his first term return after another party has served an 8-year term. The dynamics may be different.
Look, even what we've seen data, right, even though it is every day, we tend to see what the party or where the party may be heading. And that is in response to the fact that this country is a younger population. Over 70% of people who vote in this country are below 35. And these people are very resolute in what they look at. If you look at the polling, you could see that the younger generation you see are more dominant than the old generation. And I think that's where the party might.
Musa Damka, thank you very much. He is the head of the Global Info Analytics, and earlier I also had Dr. Richard Amakoba, a political scientist. You can find that full interview with Fifi Kwete we heard on Monday. It is on the social media platforms, Joy News and Joy FM. Just find it, search for it, PM Express, and watch the full thing and hear him articulate his concerns about the internal jostling and orchestrations currently underway, moves to succeed John Dramani Mahama, and his warning to those doing so. Still ahead here on Newsnight, Energy Ministry set to launch mass disconnection of ministries, departments, and agencies owing billions in debts to ECG.
All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency.
And internal sabotage within the power sector. The minister reviews it all later here on Newsnight. Plus, we'll tell you why cooking with charcoal and other unclean fuels can be as harmful as smoking multiple packs of cigarettes daily due to toxic pollutants released.
If you are cooking with traditional methods, that's the woods. Every day, it's like you are smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, just combine it with all the hours and days you have been spending in the kitchen.
More from Joy News' climate talks later after business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans, and interesting interview. And it appears that this morning some banks were kind of hit with some panic withdrawals. But it appears that the Bank of Ghana statement also was timely to avert any further challenges.
And I know you have more on that.
Yes, of course. And the commercial banks urge customers to remain calm, insisting they remain committed to facilitating legitimate withdrawals following some scare in the morning. And Karpower commits to supplying power to the national grid, assuring that talks to government over the $400 million debt is progressing steadily. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. Center Stanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Brush, brush, brush your teeth.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, dear Niham Sa. And you stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. Just send this say, but you hear my tina watch. Nihian it's now watch. No, Pia baby, someone some demoni in us say. Dear Niham say. Fair quiet, yes, in Biara Association Ontario. Uses Stay Soft and Nihian it's now watch. Nani boss to tap from cry. A fabric softener. And ye near say, sir. Choose to Stay Soft. No, who's so say, no. FDID a dreading crowd to yatu.
Sasso, sasso, se come tonton preco. Sasso, sasso, se come tonton preco. Edrana drama in your session. Yeah, how can see our name and baby? Minya me for name is sasso spray. Every mosquito started run away. Come on, tonton preco. Sasso, sasso, mi se come tonton preco. Come tonton preco. Sasso, come tonton preco. Nani shamne die demonstronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on News Night. Now, commercial banks are urging all foreign currency depositors to remain calm, insisting they remain committed to facilitating legitimate withdrawals. Now, this was captured in a statement issued by the Ghana Association of Banks earlier today. There is more in this report.
The Ghana Association of Banks in the statement maintained that they remain committed to operating within the regulatory framework provided by the Bank of Ghana. This, they believe, will help in meeting legitimate foreign currency needs of individuals and businesses in the country. The assurance from the Ghana Association of Banks is coming after the Bank of Ghana, in a statement, dissociated itself from comments by its board member Isaac Adongo that banks will be moving to halt over-the-counter foreign currency withdrawals. The association noted for them, it is very important that the Bank of Ghana in its statement noted it is not contemplating on any review of the existing foreign exchange regulations. It again added that commercial banks remain fully committed to upholding the rights of customers with respect to legitimate foreign currency needs of individuals and businesses.
And that is a Business Desk report. Still on that issue, now some banks were ahead with some panic withdrawals earlier this morning. Now this was due to a report that the central bank could have moved to limit over-the-counter foreign currency withdrawals. But the Ghana Association of Banks maintained that that assurance from the Bank of Ghana indeed went a long way to normalize things. Let's hear from John Ewua, his chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks.
I think the statement has been issued at the very right time. It was prompt, and it's basically an effort by the central bank to ensure that these media discussions on foreign currency does not degenerate into areas where people begin taking decisions based on their perception of what potentially Bank of Ghana will be coming out with.
And subsequently, you've also come out to issue a statement urging calm among members.
Yes, we have, because in the morning we observed some unusual movement, which we attribute to some actions being taken by customers in response to the media interview that was granted by the Honorable MP and the board member of Bank of Ghana. So we had to, on the back of Bank of Ghana's press release, we had to also issue a statement to reassure customers that they have nothing to fear. If you have a legitimate transaction that you need foreign currency to execute, the bank stand ready to support you.
John Ewua, chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, speaking to Pius Kojubaka on Business Live on the Joy News channel earlier today. Now, the Bank of Ghana has given the firm assurance that it remains committed to rolling out required measures that would firmly stabilize the Ghana city. It argues that this might be one of the surest ways to aid compliance of the foreign exchange rules on the market. Let's hear from the first deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Mumuni Zakari, who's been speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight at 9 p.m.
But the key thing, fundamental, is to ensure we have stability. And when you have stability, all of these other peripheral challenges you have will be minimized. You perhaps will not be able to eliminate them completely, but they will definitely be minimized. And that is only when you are able to, maintain durable stability. Yes.
You think that for you, the most important thing is stabilize the local currency, ensure confidence in the local currency, all the other things will fall in place?
Precisely the point I am making.
And that's the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Mumuni Zakari, speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight at 9 p.m. Now, Director of ISA, Professor Peter Korte, says recent calls for price reductions are justified following the cedi's appreciation against the US dollar. Speaking to Joy Business after the launch of the Youth Indigenous Enterprises in the informal sector, he said businesses should begin to reflect on a stronger cedi in their pricing.
Well, it's justified to some extent in the sense that we know that in Ghana prices are sticky downwards. Anytime exchange rate depreciates quickly, traders increase. But as soon as it appreciates, then there's some slowness in reducing. But we also appreciate the fact that some have imported using the old exchange rate to import. So they need to sell, others are taking advantage, they are importing at a lower rate. So there could be some competition, and we should see some gradual reduction in the prices of goods and services. Let's also not forget that some take advantage. There are people who take cash in even when the exchange rate has not depreciated significantly.
That is economist Professor Peter Korte. Now, Power Supply Karpower says negotiations with government over a $400 million debt have progressed significantly. Energy Minister John Jinapo earlier today disclosed to Parliament's Energy Committee that the power barge could be shut down by May 18 due to outstanding debt. But speaking to Joy Business Corporate Communications Manager Sandra Amakwe said Karpower remains committed to supplying power to the national grid.
I must say that negotiations with the government over the past week regarding the accrued debt have progressed significantly. We are optimistic about a positive outcome. I must add that Karpower as a company, we are committed to supplying reliable power to the national grid.
And that's the Corporate Communications Manager at Karpower, Sandra Makwe. Now, President of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, Shalif Gari, has emphasized the inclusiveness of business models holds the key to unlocking Ghana's economic potential, urging stakeholders to adopt more sustainable and equitable approaches in the company's agribusiness sector. Now, he made these remarks at the Impact Driver Seminar organized by the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs.
How can agribusiness evolve from the normal, traditional, ordinary way of operating agribusiness to an inclusive business where in the value chain of the operation, the destitute or those far-rich are able to be or tag along. Businesses' lives are touched, not just like doing an ordinary corporate social responsibility, but evolving the corporate social responsibility to become inclusive businesses where everybody in the sector or the value chain plays a key role and their lives are better. The target is we want to get the inclusive business model out there and start looking at how Ghanaian indigenous businesses can adopt the model to be able to reach out to men. Ghana is one of the countries and our economy need inclusive business more, so that we just don't do business for profit, but we do business for impact. And that's why we say your impact will drive your returns.
President of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, Sharif Gali, and that's all for business. But if you're a shareholder in MTN today, it was up by 7 pesos to close at 3 Ghana cedis, 53 pesos. Some good news there for shareholders of MTN Ghana. And even on PM Express Business Edition tonight, we are engaging the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zakari Mumuni, on the cedi's performance. And the critical question here is whether what is happening right now is sustainable or not.
I'm looking forward to that big interview. It gives us clarity on a host of issues, but also the monetary policy going forward to anchor the cedi, stabilize it. Also, the question is, the BOG quietly admits that they expect at some point the cedi will find its stable level. and at that point they can then expect some stability. I'm always curious to know, so when they do the estimation and forecast, what is that level?
You want to get that answer at 9 p.m. on PM Express Business Edition.
Yeah, you want to join George at 9 p.m. You also want to join him on many social media platforms. You can watch on your phone. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a television, of course, connected to any of our boxes, do so. On Facebook, it's also on YouTube, on Twitter as well. The Ghana Pediatric Society is warning tonight that cooking with unclean fuels like charcoal and firewood can be deadly, equivalent to smoking multiple packs of cigarettes daily. Exposure to household air pollutants put everyone, including unborn babies, at risk. And that's according to Dr. Richard Bright Daniel, a member of the Pediatric Society. He made the comments at the maiden edition of the Joy News Climate Talks in Jamestown, here in Accra.
If you are still thinking, how does this clean cooking affect you? Now, this is the big one. WHO is estimating that if you are cooking with traditional methods, that's the woods, every day, it's like you are smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, just combine it with all the hours and days you have been spending in the kitchen, and then that should bring the message home. Apart from the cataracts, the lung cancers, and then even some has even linked it to breast cancers. So the effects are not just these few things that we've mentioned, but they are there. And even in pregnancy, unclean cooking can affect you. You could have hypertension in pregnancy and even anemia in pregnancy, and on top you could lose your baby. What can we do? I think that as health workers, we all need to leverage on the knowledge we know about the effect of clean cooking and health, the benefits, and we have to drum this idea home. We need to talk about it in our outpatient departments. We need to make videos about them, talk to people about it in languages that they can understand. We need to remember that prescription just doesn't end with medication, but prescribing clean air is one of the best medicines that can be given to you.
Well, in spite of the risk we just heard about, we also learned from the Deputy Director of Arocha Ghana, Darryl Bosu, that nearly 70% of households rely on charcoal for cooking. He warned that if this trend continues, Ghana could lose a significant portion of its tree cover in charcoal-producing communities within the next 2 decades.
If you look at the fact that close to about 70% of Ghana's households depend on either charcoal or firewood for energy in terms of cooking, then we are not only looking at an energy challenge, we're also looking at an issue of environment and also an issue of health. And even there's also the other aspect where charcoal actually comes from also those areas that are even least endowed, now supplying the urban centers with a lot of charcoal. And you see the tracks. If you look at the numbers of charcoal that is being taken out of the environment, or wood, that's about 14.9 million tons of wood being taken out of the environment. The estimation already indicates that at the rate at which we are removing these things, if we don't take it like 2 decades, we are likely to lose a lot of the forests in the areas where charcoal production is coming from. And if you look at the density of charcoal production now across the country, you have areas like the Kintampo areas, the Atebubu, mostly the semi-arid regions. So the dry regions where we need to build more adaptation capacity, the dry regions where we need to build mitigation opportunities so that we can reduce emissions. These are the areas where our charcoal is coming from. So it tells you that there's more damage and more risks.
He's calling for a transition to cleaner cooking alternatives such as gas stoves to reduce health risk and protect Ghana's remaining tree cover.
We need to look at new strategies and technologies and innovation and trying to bring in those clean fuels. And clean fuels can start with using some things like the waste to energy fuels, like the briquettes that we've been using, that can really come to compete and replace the firewood and the charcoal. We can also bring in innovation in terms of the stoves that we are using. Right now, as you know, most communities, most households, and even where we are, what you see commonly around us is people using the firewood burners and smokers. We need to bring in those cook stoves that can really transform cooking by ensuring that people are able to use much more cleaner fuel. So we can use, for those who can afford within the urban centers, use electricity to cook.
Well, Climate Talks is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with the German Embassy. Catch the full episode on all our social media handles. And joining me right now with sports is Val.
Yes, Evans. Well, let's talk a bit about women's football. There's a big MTN FA Cup semi-final game that's happening, the Women's FA Cup game final that's happening this weekend. And we'll get to talk about that very shortly. But women's football administrators are calling on the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Poku-Agyeman, to use her influential position in government to champion and advance the growth of women's football in the country. Leading the call is the Chief Executive Officer of Azaka's Ladies, Evelyn Siasari, who believes the Vice President's support could be a game changer in creating more opportunities for female athletes and elevating the women's game to new heights.
The going down of women's football is one reason field. All the field or all the lands that were earmarked for that purpose are now being put to a different use. They are building houses. There are no enough places where if you are even bored within your house, you can go there and play football. So that is the reason why we are not developing. If we can start, the president, the government, and I'm very happy that now, for the first time, we have a vice president who is a woman. I believe that she will take this women football thing as a project.
That's Evelyn Siasari, the Chief Executive Officer of Hazaka's Ladies there. And we're just talking about the Women's Premier League Championship final that will be taking place come Sunday at the University of Ghana Stadium. And it's going to be between, Ampem Dakwa Ladies and the Ghana Police Ladies. And the winner of this game will determine the winner of the Women's Premier League. So we're looking forward to that come Sunday. But even just before I go, though, Tottenham Hotspur captain Son Heung-min has filed a criminal complaint with the South Korean police for being the victim of an alleged blackmail plot after it was reported that a woman threatened him with a false pregnancy claim. Now, according
Say that
to,
again?
Yes, a woman threatened him with a false pregnancy claim.
He did not do the thing.
He did not do that thing, and he's taking it to the police station, and the police have started investigation into it. And we understand that the woman is alleged to have approached Son last year, claiming she was carrying his child. She reportedly demanded money to stay silent. The man then allegedly showed up with him in March trying to get money, but Son reported the matter to the police and is being investigated because he believes the child is not for him.
Did he touch the thing at all?
How on there?
That's what he didn't say.
The police is investigating, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
very
it for
interesting
us.
story indeed. Ms. Val, thank you very much. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. This one from Samin Kumasi says the notion that levies are being collected by the AMA and KMA from the market women who are selling in the principal streets does not guarantee them a license to sell in those places. They really impede the movement of both human and vehicles. And this one from Sokbo and Anglo says the Ghana is coming back under John Dramani Mahama. The MPP should point out the law breached by Sami Jemfi, the MPP. He says now a new press party. And Nana Honest Painters Road says, in all honesty, Accra needs decongestion. The hawkers do not have the right to be on the roads, believe it or not. They Agboglosh lot. They are all back, he says. And why don't we own Karpower and these other IPPs? Basic financial analysis will advise we own these plans. A narrative every government isn't efficient and effective must end. And that's Shem Mixon. Yeah, boy, out there. Let's stay with the subject of energy a while longer, because the minister has vowed to crack down on government agencies that owe the Electricity Company of Ghana billions of cedis. Now, John Junapo has been briefing members of Parliament, Mines and Energy Committee today. He says the Cabinet has now approved the aggressive move to retrieve debts with the exemptions to extremely critical institutions.
Cabinet has also adopted a position, and will brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, is the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the educational institutions, dormitories are not part, restaurants are not part, only lecture theaters. And so we've classified that, and Cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay. Yesterday, I was listening to a news item where Ghana Water made a complaint that because of some erratic power situation, they are unable to supply adequately. I empathize with them, and I think that what we've inherited, we should improve it.
And that there is John Junapol, the Energy Minister. Now, scientists at Ghana's KNUST are teaming up with Oregon State University to study the effects of illegal mining on human health using zebrafish. Now, the study follows disturbing patterns of birth defects and organ failure in mining communities. With help from U.S. researchers, the goal is to develop protocols to safeguard the environment. Nana Yaljuma has more from the Pharmacy Department's Fish Lab.
The organs of these fishes are similar to humans, hence factors that damage their organs have similar impact on the human body. Pharmacologist Professor George Ainison explains the negative impact of water samples from illegal mining sites on fishes when introduced could be likened to impact on humans.
He hopes to get water from these areas, expose these fishes to it right from the egg stage, fertilized egg stage, and then you'll be looking at what is happening to them. Are the lungs forming well? Are the kidneys forming well? Liver forming well? The eyes, are they able to see well?
Already, scientists in Ghana are seeing babies being born with deformities and poorly formed organs. It is believed the use of cyanide solution, mercury among other chemicals in illegal mining continues to cause deaths in mining communities. Pathologist Professor Paul Poku Osei Sampene explains.
At the autopsy in all the 5 regions, you realize that the major cause of death are actually what do you call it, end-stage renal disease. What's some few hepatorenal syndromes? What it means that the renal or the kidneys affected, and then or probably the liver is affected, then therefore affecting the kidneys as well. And we have some few 69 cases of what we call colorectal cancer and liver metastasis, and then we have liver cancers and all those things. So basically, some few number of about 20 people were involved in left ventricular heart failure. In fact, inhalation of these heavy metals can also have effect on the heart.
Researchers from the Oregon State University on a field trip to illegal mining sites expressed worry over the destruction done by the activity. Researcher Professor Robin Tange.
But what we fail to do is understand how can we show the value of the environment. We haven't monetized the environment. We haven't monetized our health. So when we do that, if you do that over 100 or 200 years, the environment is far more valuable than the gold will ever be.
And that's it for Newsnight tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.